Doesn't take out the counterplay, doesn't take out the counterplay or intellectual strategy argument. The two regions are separate. There's no linking argument between the discourse around, which means that cross application would be brand new. Shouldn't evaluate biopolitics, really not answering the OGK's argument against probably is an issue. It's no longer an issue of viable political engagement. It's no longer the Nazi genocide state. It's rather the modern welfare state. The OGK's evidence against the biopolitical political state now tries to maximize, not try to repress and destroy, even if they have an instance in which that is not necessarily true. Doesn't really matter in the economy. It doesn't really matter because they don't access the biggest. They don't access the terminal impact to either to weigh against the net benefit, or as a reason why their intellectual strategy is good by a pick. This debate comes down to the question of our impact turns to the net benefit versus their disease and medicalization link arguments. First of all, extend our piece evidence versus our Gilligan evidence indicates that structural bias should be the prima facie concern for all the decision makers. It kills more people than nuclear war, and more every year. About 17 to 20 million people every year die because of structural bias. Also, is an explicit impact turn to their argument about management and management and healthcare exploitation. The question is not whether we're trying to manage people, whether or not we should try to intervene to solve poverty. This definitely answers the shell argument. There'll be more on that on the question of the two links to the plan arguments. Next argument is that the counterplan is always going to be preferable and definitely solves the entirety of the case. We do solves the entire case. We leave one unit of about 13 people in the country of Okinawa, in the area of Okinawa. There's no reason why there's no reason why we wouldn't solve that. Their evidence is definitely not in the context of how the third marine logistics group would interact with that. Also, the risk of net benefit outweighs that argument. Gilligan, the risk of structural violence and a continuing genocide against poor Bangladeshi people definitely outweighs that. Definitely outweighs that context. Their next argument is capitalism is bad. First of all, the inevitably claims conceded on the two. They conceded in the two and even just no impact. It's argument worse. It's just a bad impact defense. It cuts both ways, so there's no reason to evaluate. Secondly, definitely we don't link to the medicalization argument. It's a question of structural violence, not to maximize Bangladesh and turn it into a new Coca-Cola factory. They say biopower is bad. We solved that argument. We solved that argument. Their internal link are quite based on the logic of disposability of how we negotiate with Okinawa. Their evidence is not specific to how the third marine logistics group would necessarily perpetuate that. Violence definitely still solves their intellectual engagement. That would be a little bit below their next argument is that their app is a link chart to the app is a link chart argument. He concedes a couple. The 1AR concedes a couple of pieces of analysis from the overview. The app, the reason biopolitics is bad because it gives the life and then has the ability to take it away. The app is an example of this. They take out the third marine logistics group because they have deemed the struggle of the Okinawa people to be above that of the Bangladeshi people. This is the reason the Gilligan impact is an impact is the terminal impact to their biopolitics arguments. The only risk of the only risk of their Dean evidence is a world in which you vote. The reason why you voted from, they say it's a made-up scenario. No, the specificity of argument evidence is pretty good on this question. It's not just a generic healthcare thing. It's not just generic healthcare in Southeast Asia, but rather specifically how healthcare in Bangladesh, how healthcare procedures in Bangladesh, and how the third marine logistics group would be able to solve that means you should have a high threshold for this argument. Next argument is they don't totalize power. Totalize power. We're not going for the argument. However, we will go for the fact that we'll go for our synergic evidence that is just better on this question in order to actually have an effective solvency for biopolitics. You have to incorporate the suffering of the oppressed. Yes, they include Okinawa, but but when they're given the opportunity to include the voice of the Bangladeshi, they say no. We don't care about your synergic evidence. Means that they makes biopolitics inevitable. At the very least, it means the counterplay is probably preferable in the disease debate. We don't link to this argument to the 2NC cross-sex things. Or 2AC thought he probably got me pretty bad in cross-sex. Couple of key arguments he doesn't answer. In the 1AR, the first is that their evidence in the context of extinction level disease impact like swine flu, not in the context of poverty and healthcare-related illnesses in Bangladesh. Secondly, our synergic evidence is an explicit impact on this argument. Even if they win the representing these people poorly, even if they win a link to this argument, it does not matter. It doesn't matter because our synergic evidence, in order to incorporate these people into the broader biopolitical resistance, we have to have the sort of representation. The fact that the app doesn't talk about them means it is literally try or die for our link argument that they say it's a prior question to our implementation. Definitely not true. It's tried. The discourse is definitely tried to the advocacy, the counterplan, and the rest of the net benefit proves it's not a prior question. Permutation do both. Definitely links to net benefit. They takes out definitely links to net benefit. We impact on the prioritization argument for the permutation. They read a medicalization link. It's definitely not specific. It's also brand new. You shouldn't evaluate. You should stick them to the disease. You should stick them to the disease argument. There's no reason why prefer the specificity of our argument. You always prefer the specificity of our evidence. They say we don't solve a claim that was above. Even if we don't win the counterpoint, we still impact on the intellectualism argument. Their strategy specifically limits out the voices of press in order to withdraw from Okinawa. Our net benefit is a reason why that's bad and why their intellectual strategy will inevitably fail.
What do you have? 5. Week 5. Alright, any question?